Okay. Hi everyone, and welcome to another edition of Sober Bliss Meets with me, Gail. And today I'm delighted to be joined by the wonderful Esther Nagle, who is a yoga and breath teacher. Hello Esther, it's lovely to have you here.
Hi Gail, it's so cool to be here and to actually be speaking to you in person at last.
I know, finally.
Yeah.
We've kind of been in contact a while, haven't we, in different groups and things.
Yeah.
And I've been so excited to talk to you today because not only are you a yoga and breath teacher, but you are also a sober mom, which is just fabulous.
I am, yes, I am. Have been for, five years and 3 months, something like that. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Work up the days, but
yeah.
It becomes less need after a while, but yeah. 2014 I stopped drinking.
Right, okay. And what we're going to talk about today kind of ties in with your journey, doesn't it?
Very much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So would you mind just kind of taking us back to what it was like before you discovered yoga and breathwork?
Okay, so how long is this conversation?
Well, 20 minutes, if you could squish it all in.
So to summarize then, so I was, I didn't realize it, but I was an alcoholic for about 20 years. Started going out drinking socially when I was 16, but started drinking to kill the pain, pain when I was 19 or 20. And I smoked a lot. I took a lot of drugs. I smoked a lot of marijuana as well. And I had lots of other ways of numbing my pain. I had a bit of a sugar addiction as well, and loud music and anything that I could do to distract myself from what was going on in my head was welcome. But booze was my main thing that I did. Well, I'm smoking, I suppose, really. And as an asthmatic, wasn't for me to do either of those things, because smoking and drinking makes asthma worse, obviously.
Yeah.
So I lived this very chaotic life, and I don't think I or anybody around me realized that this was anything other than me just being my usual chaotic self. You know, always being quite a high stress, high emotion, high drama kind of person. And so nobody ever questioned me on what I did, and I questioned myself. And in the moments when I did, I had enough people around me who drank as much or more than me that I could look around and think, well, it's normal, it's fine.
Yeah.
So part of me knew that what I was doing wasn't normal and wasn't fine. I could convince myself, because I constructed this life that reinforced my choices and made me feel that I was okay. But so I'd lots and lots of stress over the years, and my coping strategy was always, right, let's get drunk then, or let's smoke both and shout at the world. But in 2013 I had it was almost like it was universe, God, whatever, karma, maybe, whatever it was, something kind of stopped me, because it was like one of those breakthrough years, where everything happened that could have possibly put pressure on me till I reached that breaking point.
Yeah.
I had problems with my job, problems within my family, health worries within my family, and a breakup with my ex, and a massive fight and constant fighting over our son. And it all just got too much for me. I saw a talk the other day where someone was talking about a bridge, and he was saying that if you put the more pressure you pile on any bridge, the strongest bridge in the world will eventually collapse. I'm particularly strong, and life was putting all of this pressure onto me, and eventually I collapsed, almost physically. It was just a complete breakdown. And so I gave up my job, went on benefits, and kind of had to figure out what I was going to do next with my life. And I'd been going to yoga classes for about 5 or 6 years up until this point. And I loved it. I was good at it because I'm quite naturally flexible, and I enjoyed the way that it made my body feel. I didn't like the breathing exercises, which is why I originally went, because my nose was blocked because I had a dust allergy. I couldn't do the breathing exercises. So the breath work actually made me really angry and tense and uncomfortable at first. But I knew I wanted to, at some point in my life, teach yoga. So I decided to train to be a yoga teacher as a way of finding something else to do with my life that didn't involve sitting at a desk all day, and that would teach me some relaxation techniques. And it was while I was doing this that I was advised to give up dairy for them to reduce the mucus that my body was producing, which immediately helped me to breathe.
Oh, wow.
And to breathe, and I was able to breathe properly, to breathe through my nose for the first time in my entire life. I could breathe through my nose. And as soon as I learned to breathe, I was able to start relaxing. I was able to start calming myself. And rather than reaching for a bottle of wine when my ex and I would argue, or Brexit would be voted for, or, you know, all the things that were going on that would have sent me running to the shop, and I was breathing through it instead. And I was finding that I was actually able to manage to keep my stress levels down. I was able to manage my emotional response to stuff, and I was able to come up with a better way of dealing with stuff. 6 months into that training, through learning these techniques, and it wasn't just breathing, but it was like the minute I was able to take that first proper breath, something shifted in me. So it was predominant. It was a lot. Breathing was the biggest thing that I gained from my yoga teacher training. Good breathing. Within 6 months, I had the mother of all hangovers one Sunday. Decided I was never going to put myself through that anymore, because I didn't need the numbing, the oblivion that I'd been seeking for so long. I didn't need that anymore. I didn't even want it anymore. And I certainly didn't want that pain. You know, I've been trying to flee from emotional pain, and suddenly I was in physical pain because of it. When you drink every day, you don't have hangovers, do you? Sitting down how much I was drinking, and then binging at weekends, and all of a sudden I'm having these awful hangovers. And so on that Sunday morning, I decided I'm not doing this anymore. And so the next weekend I decided I wasn't drinking, and then the following weekend and the following weekend. And I wasn't telling myself I was giving up drinking, but I was just doing that one day at a time thing. I didn't even know that was a phrase at the time. I wouldn't go anywhere near Alcoholics Anonymous. But I was just taking myself through that, just today. Tomorrow you can, but just today. And each time I was going to bed sober, I was kind of focusing on how good I felt, focusing on, I'll be able to remember this tomorrow. Morning, waking up thinking, oh, I can remember bed, and my mouth doesn't feel like a pub floor, and you know, all the positives. And so by the time I got 6 weeks in, and I was at my brother's wedding, and I opted not to drink the free red wine, but to drink the elderflower cordial instead, I knew. And then the next morning I woke up and I could remember every second of my brother's wedding, and I hadn't full of myself, and I hadn't upset anybody, and I'd been able to look after my son, and you know, it was just a beautiful night. And that moment was the day I realized that actually this was the life I wanted. I stopped drinking on the 12th, but then it took me 6 weeks to accept and to realize that actually being sober was preferable. Giving anything up, I was gaining. And it's, you know, I haven't looked back since. I haven't, despite everything that's been going on in the world and in my personal life for the last 5 years, I haven't wanted a drink. There have been a couple of moments when I've had the thought of it. But then again, take a couple of deep breaths, that passes, because the craving only lasts a few seconds. Is what we do to that, with that craving in our minds. Turns it into that full-blown obsession that means we have to do it. So it's, but you know, my breath has got me through all those times, all those challenging times where I would have reached for a glass of wine or a bottle of wine. It wouldn't have been a glass, it would have been a bottle. And I've just breathed through it all, and it's given me space to find out who I am. Because of course, drinking for 20 years, I was drinking from my young adulthood. I was barely a child.
Yeah.
When I started obliterating who I was with wine, aside that and the awful 2020 stuff that was around in the 90s.
Oh God, yeah.
And so in my 40s, I started to figure out who I am. And it turns out that I'm not this awful person that I used to think I was.
Oh.
I'm actually quite a nice person underneath. And, I've got some issues, but
yeah. Oh.
I've become a better person as a result of it. So in that breathing, I found me in there as well. And it's been really, and it's been a phenomenal transformation to go through. I look back at photos from even 3 years ago, and I seem to be looking younger than I did 5 years ago. Not 5 years older. I look younger than I did, and I certainly feel it.
I was just going to say, I bet you feel 100% better than
what
you did.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I've recently found, and you might know this because we're connected, I think I probably mentioned it in Susanna's group, but I've recently been diagnosed with ADHD.
Yeah.
And ADHD and addiction are very, very correlated, because, of course, you grow up thinking there's something completely and utterly horribly wrong with you. So then you drink that away, and addiction kind of feeds the dopamine lack that you've got in your brain as well.
Yeah.
So that's fueled the years of addiction, but I'm also finding that my breath is helping with that as well. It's helping to kind of calm the anxiety of that ADHD creates. So it's a powerful thing. It's managed to get me sober and regulate ADHD. I think that's quite
simple. I know. I was just going to ask you, obviously we all breathe, so we think that, we know what we're doing, everyone can breathe, it's not that big a deal, really, is it? But actually, how many of us actually breathe properly, and how many of us actually use our breath to help us in situations like you've just described, a whole host of situations where actually breathing properly is a huge help. And, people say, oh yeah, take a few deep breaths and you'll be all right. But there's more to it than that, isn't it?
There absolutely is. I mean, there is a lot of truth in that. If you are having a moment of stress, a moment of anxiety, if you can take a few deep breaths, it will give you that immediate calm space to sort of, if you're, say you've just, I don't know, you're having an argument. Like I always use the example of arguing with your other half or your ex. Like the first time I realized the power of this was during an argument with my ex. He was saying the sort of things that would have normally triggered my, and I would have just launched at him and ended up saying stupid things that I would have wished I hadn't said later. And instead of reacting to what he said, I just kind of pressed my hands together. It wasn't a conscious thing. I just pressed my hands together. It was almost like a physical, like, now, wait now.
Yeah.
And I just took a couple of breaths, and I didn't say anything. I just took a couple of breaths. And I could feel this calm descending on me. And this was quite early in my teacher training. I was still drinking at the time, I know that. So it was within the first 6 months of me learning this. And I took these couple of deep breaths, and I just didn't feel the need to react to what he said. And if I hadn't done that, I would have been screaming at him down the street. And it just took all of that tension away, all of that flight or fight. It just takes you out of that moment of flight or fight.
Yeah.
And into a space where you can stop and pause and think about what you want to say, what you want to do. So as a one-off, there is a lot of power in it, but want to get the benefits of it, then making it part of your daily practice or something that you try and just gradually increase your awareness of, you're going to see more benefits. And to answer your question, how many of us do breathe properly? Only people who've become aware of the fact that they don't. You don't know that you're not doing it properly until somebody highlights what you're breathing like. So when you sort of start to look at what your breath is actually like, most of the time you realize that maybe you're only breathing up here, or maybe you're only breathing into your sort of heart area. Women tend to be really bad at breathing into the lower part of the lungs, the abdominal area, because that involves allowing our tummies to stick out. And of course, society has told us that that's not what we want, and it's rubbish. We're not actually designed biologically. We're not actually meant to have flat washboard, you know, supermodel stomachs, but that is what we are kind of conditioned to expect ourselves to look like, even if we don't. So we spend all this time sucking our tummies in, constantly restricting how well we can breathe. And I had bulimia when I was younger, and I've had issues around my body shape, my body image, that tend to mostly focus around my tummy. You know, when I hit puberty and my tummy went out, you know, I was a very skinny little girl, and then as soon as I hit puberty, I ended up with that rounded tummy, and I became really conscious of it and would try and hide it. Learning to breathe and learning to teach people how to breathe meant becoming okay with allowing my belly not just to expand, but to allow other people to see that, which took a lot of processing in my head. Because I can now breathe like that, I breathe much better. My breath is much healthier, and so the rest of me feels much healthier. A lot of retraining of the brain and the body that needs to happen. You know, if you've spent 40, 50, 60 years breathing into one part of your lungs only, the other parts of the lungs have started to atrophy. I think that's the word, where your muscles stop working so well. So you retrain those muscles. You need to retrain that part of your body to actually start working properly. So if you want to learn how to breathe properly, you can, even if you've got lung conditions, or if you are older and you think, oh, I'm too old now, I can't do it. You can learn to do it, but it is a bit of a process. Like, you know, if you wanted to start weight training, you wouldn't start with 100k, you'd start with a 5k, and you build up and gradually increase your strength. And it's the same with breathing. Awareness, it starts with paying attention to your breath and just checking in with your breath from time to time, remembering that you're breathing. Because half the time we don't even, you know, we know that we're breathing because we're alive. And we know that if we stop breathing, we stop living. But we don't really pay it any attention until, as a general rule, we can't breathe for some reason. So, you know, if you're cold, or if you're out of breath because you've been running for the train or something, you become really aware of your breath when it's not doing what it's supposed to be doing. We don't recognize it when it is. And the more you can connect into your breath and tune into your breath, the more you can connect to your emotions, your state of mind, because the breath and the emotions are really connected through the nervous system. So you can become really tuned in. And if you notice that you're breathing very fast, then you can look at, right, maybe I'm a bit stressed about something. What am I anxious about? And maybe you can start, you know, slow the breath down and calm yourself down. So there's a lot more to it than people really think. You know, because it's something we've done since we were newborn, and we're going to do until our last breath, literally last breath. That is how we talk about the moment of death. So we don't think we have to think about it. But when you do have to think about it, you can transform your breath. And if you can transform your breath, you can actually transform your life.
Yeah. Wow. That's so powerful. Yeah. So for people who are thinking, oh my God, yeah, Esther's right, maybe I'm not breathing properly, how can we kind of start to incorporate this into our daily lives? Obviously, because, you know, not everybody can do yoga teacher training, or, you know, go into the full, you know, breathwork dynamics of it. But if you wanted to start to maybe change the way that you breathe, how could we do that in a simple way to begin with?
So I would, the easiest thing you can do is to give yourself a way to force yourself to, not to force, I don't like the word force, but to just like remind yourself every day to think about your breath.
Mm-hmm.
For example, I've got a Fitbit, and it's got alarms on it, so I can set as many alarms as I want throughout the day. So you could set an alarm on your smartwatch or on your phone, on your laptop, to maybe go off once an hour, and then every hour or however often you chose to do it, just stop, take a couple of breaths, and just see how it is. So you could stop and notice, how am I breathing? Am I breathing through my nose or my mouth? And what is the breath feeling like? And where am I breathing? And just start to notice what is going on in your breath. And if you can if you're doing that, you can also maybe notice how do you feel emotionally at that time as well. So you can start to bring that connection between your breath and your emotions into your awareness. And you don't have to, it doesn't have to be a big deal. You don't have to get your journal out once an hour and write down, I'm feeling like this and this. But just start to notice it. So, all right, okay, and I'm feeling a bit tense now, and I can feel that my breath is a bit shallow. So then you can, if you need to, you can take a couple of deeper breaths just to calm yourself down a little bit. Other things that you could do is, if you have to commute, if you have to drive to work, or you're on the train to go to work every day, that can be quite stressful. And use that time to just check in and slow your breath down a little while you're driving, while you're on the train. Focus on taking a few deep breaths. It'll help you to, not get so irate at the fact that you're stuck in an hour's worth of traffic to drive 3 miles down the road or something.
Yeah.
Things like red lights, shopping queues, any of these things, you can create little triggers that, okay, I'm standing in a queue. Let's see what my breath is doing. Just check in. So it starts with awareness.
Yeah.
And then something else that you can do, if you've got 5 minutes, or if you can find 5 minutes at the start of your day, at the end of your day, maybe before you start your work day, find 5 minutes and you can just sit and focus in on your breath for 5 minutes. If you can do that, that will give you a kind of a mental reboot. It will help your body to be relaxed and help to bring you into the present moment, rather than, you turn up for work, you're still thinking about the hours worth of traffic that you've just had to sit through, and that's going to get in the way of your work for an hour, because you've still got that in the back of your mind. But if you do that before you sort of turn your computer on, or before you get out of the car, 5 minutes just to slow the breath down and bring yourself into the present moment, find it a lot easier to get on with your day. I do have a 5 minute breath. I don't like calling it a challenge. I don't know what to call it. A mini course.
Yeah. I was going to ask you about that. Yeah.
Which is designed to help with that. I'm currently running it live in my Facebook group, so there are daily videos at the moment going in there as well. So that is 5 minutes. Most of us can find 5 minutes every day to do that. And if you can't find 5 minutes, you can find one.
Yeah.
If it's when you're sitting on the toilet, you can find 1 minute where you can just get, in the toilet's perfect.
It is actually, isn't it? Well, not on my kids. The kids come in, Mom.
Or maybe not if you have company in the toilet. I've always banned company from the toilet. That doesn't seem to toilet. But we can only find 1 minute a day where we can do that. And so that, there is so much proven research to show that will help you to keep your stress levels down. It helps to keep blood pressure down. It helps to increase your focus, your creativity, all the things that we want to be happy, to be healthy, to feel fulfilled in our life. Focusing on your breath can help to give you those. It's not gonna change everything out there in your life, but it helps you to manage how you feel about things.
Yeah.
And that helps you to sort of feel better about yourself inside. Is going to make your life a much better place to be.
Yeah. So, but it's something that you kind of have to do consistently, isn't it? You can't take 10 deep breaths, once on a random Tuesday in July and expect everything to be okay with the world.
No, not at all. No, it's like anything, I mean, if you had 1 day a month where you only ate salad and then the rest of the month you lived on McDonald's, you're gonna see more of the benefit of the impact of the McDonald's than the 1 day of healthy eating.
Yeah.
So, the more time you can spend working with your breath consciously, the more you're going to get the benefit. And of course, there's that saying, isn't it? How you do one thing is how you do everything.
Yeah.
And if you breathe, I mean, breath is fundamental to everything. So if you can make more of an effort to breathe consciously, and I don't do it all day, every day. Most of my day, I'm just letting my body breathe for me. I'm not consciously breathing all the time. But the more you can bring conscious awareness to your breath, the more you bring conscious awareness to the rest of your life. And the ripple effects from building that practice into your life, the more you can practice it, the more you can make it part of your routine, the more you're going to see the benefit. You get immediate short-term benefit from those 10 breaths once in a blue moon, but it will be short-term benefit. It will help. It won't help a week later, whereas you'll be feeling the benefits of a practice if you do it for a week.
Yeah, and I love what you just said there about the ripple effect, because obviously in your case, without learning these breathing techniques and how to breathe properly and recognize your breath, then you, and I think you've said this before, you probably wouldn't have stopped drinking, would you? So one I'd say small thing, it's not, it's a big thing, but a simple thing like learning to focus on your breath and to breathe properly has a huge ripple effect. And in terms of sobriety, how important do you think it is for us as people who don't drink or who are trying not to drink or want to give up? How important is it, do you think, to start small, to start with the breath to help us?
Oh, starting small is paramount. It's absolutely fundamental. I mean, I said if that Sunday morning, if I decided on that Sunday morning I'm giving up drinking, I would drink within 3 days, because I couldn't deal. That's like forever. That can't be. You have to start small because it is such a big change.
Yeah.
Particularly if, like me, I mean, I was 20 years. My whole identity was tied up into my drinking habits. Everything about my life was basically structured around my addiction. So if you try and change that in a moment, then you probably set yourself up to fail.
Yeah.
Where if you start small and give yourself something to replace it. So I think I tried in the past to control my drinking, because I'd always known that there was a problem, but I spent most of my time in denial about it. But occasionally I'd have these flashes of insight and think, oh, I really should do something about this. And I'd always try to control my drinking, but there was never anything else in place.
Yeah.
Place it. So I think why that it was quite easy for me to do this was because I already had strategies to help me. I had tools in place that I could, on those difficult days, I had things that I could turn to instead. So I didn't feel like I needed that wine to get me through the repercussions of the argument with the ex or the referendum, or every day I've read the news since then, all the things that have happened. But it's having, you start making the changes, start cutting down, or do your one day at a time, go to your meetings, but make sure that you've got things in place that can help you in those moments when you're on your own and you are feeling lost and you're stressed and you don't know what to do. Make sure that you've got tools in place, and your lungs is always with you. You're never going to leave those behind anywhere. So if what is your kind of one of your coping strategies, one of these toolboxes is good conscious breathing, you've always got that. Whatever situation you put yourself in, wherever you are, you've always got that. And I think this is one of the things why it was so helpful, is that it wasn't something that I'd have to wait until I could get on my yoga mat for. When only yoga was one of my kind of relaxation self-care tools before, but I could only do that when I had space and time and privacy and my yoga mat and the right clothes, etc.
Yeah, exactly.
But obviously breathing, taking a few deep breaths, is something you can do wherever you are and whatever is going on. If you're surrounded by people, if you're in the office, if you're with friends, if you're anywhere at all, you can always pause and take a couple of breaths. And the people around you probably won't even notice you're doing it.
Yeah.
But what they might notice is that you're calmer as a result. They're going to notice anything. They're going to notice that you're not so agitated.
Yeah.
So it's a really useful tool to have in your sobriety toolbox.
Yeah. And do you have a favorite kind of breath technique that you could share with us, you know, if you're maybe struggling with a craving, or you're overcome with, I don't know, maybe self-doubt, can I really do this? Or, you know, you just maybe think you're getting too much, or maybe you're having trouble sleeping or concentrating. Is there anything, you know, a particular technique that really helps in those moments?
There are quite a few different breath practices, but actually the one that is there's a practice that is really good for kind of all of those things that you just mentioned, and particularly for those overwhelming stress moments. And it's not so much, well, it is about the breath, but it's also quite a physical thing as well. So I'll demonstrate this.
Yeah.
Do it.
Okay.
And you could, I don't know if you can, oh, you've got your headphones on, so you can.
I'll try.
This is a very physical, and it's a very dynamic sort of practice. I'm just going to take my cardigan off because I'm going to get quite warm.
Okay.
So it involves, right, so the breath that we're going to be using for this is called the bastrika, and it's a forcing breath. So you're using the diaphragm to force the air out of your lungs. And it's a sort of breath. And when we do that, I say the word release, we're going to and throw, as if we're throwing stuff up into space to get rid of it.
Wow.
So I'm going to run through this. We do this practice 3 times. Basically, you will get very warm, so you will warm up. So we start with the right hand. Give your right hand a really good shake, okay? And it's all, the relaxation comes in the shaking and the releasing. So if you have got anything on your mind that is bothering you, anything that is upsetting you, you can think about that now and know that you're going to release it. So now we're going to shake the left hand. And the more you shake, the more you're going to feel the release. Another shake of the right. And the left. And then we take both hands over to the right and take them up as high as you can and really stretch the arms up. And then we're going to move down the body, shaking all the way down to the floor. And then coming back up and over to the left. And then just shaking wherever you feel like you want to shake, keeping those ideas about the things you're going to release.
Wow.
It could just be a bad day. It could be an incident with another person. It could be a general feeling of how you feel about yourself. And we're going to release all of that negativity. So we're going to catch it up, bring it in, breathe in, and release and throw it away. And we do it again. So shake. Shaking just wherever you feel that you want to move your body to. The more you can shake, the more you can move, the more you're going to release. And catch it all up and breathe in. And release. And one more. Wow. I'm really going for it this time. Make sure we're going to release all of that negativity. And breathe in. And release. And then keep your eyes closed and let your arms swing forwards and backwards at the side of your body. And then bring the arms still alongside the body, having them palms forward, feet hip width apart, your eyes closed. And begin to slow the breath. So you can feel your heart pumping, your muscles tingling. Feeling the heart slowing down, feeling the breath coming back to an easy, slower pace. Feel your muscles relax, letting go of all that tension. And then just swing your arms side to side, like you did when you were a child. And then so.
Wow. That was amazing.
And you can do that. I mean, obviously, you wouldn't want to do all that if you were, in the supermarket.
Yeah.
You would be feeling a bit overwhelmed in the supermarket. Now, I've done this on the main road outside a coffee shop in my local town when I was having a really bad day and I was really upset. And my mum was on the phone to me and she said, right, Esther, what would you tell your students to do right now? I would tell them to do this. And she said, so can you do this right now? I was like, no, I'm in Cherokee. And then I stood and I just did this. So you can see my hand and I went, shh, shh, shh. So nobody noticed I was doing it.
Yeah.
Even if they had, by the time they figured out that it was me, I would have stopped. So you can do that when you are more less likely to want people to see you doing it. It's a great one for kids as well.
Yeah.
Doing it. So if you've got kids and they are upset, they got issues in school perhaps, or struggling to process their emotions, that is a fantastic thing to teach kids. I've had my son go from being in tears to laughing within a minute doing that. So very good thing for our children as well as for us.
Oh, that was brilliant, Esther. Thank you. I know what I'm going to be doing later on.
Yeah, it's a really good practice. I've had people coming classes before and they're like, I'm just waiting for the throwing out. I've had that bad a day. I'm here for the throwing out.
Yeah. And what I love about it all is that you don't need fancy equipment. You don't need any special training particularly. But you just need a bit of time, a bit of space and a willingness, I suppose, to try it.
Yes. And remembering that you've got it as well, because that's the thing with these things is we can learn them, but it's remembering to implement them at the time when we need them. And I mean, I'm as guilty of that as the next person. I know all these things, but sometimes I will forget my own practices and I need somebody like my mum to say, now, what would you, what would you be? So remembering that these things are available for you, it helps. So put like I've got the word breathe tattooed on my wrist to help me remember that that's what I need to do. So that is it's a bit of an extreme way of reminding yourself about these things perhaps, but whatever works.
Exactly. And I think that's it, isn't it? It's what you just said, whatever works for you. It's your journey, it's your life, it's your discovery. So do what works for you.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Oh, well, thank you so much, Esther. I've really enjoyed this. And I love the little exercise at the end.
Yeah, it is it's a good fun one to do. It's people in the class and I introduce them to that and they're a bit like, I don't know about this, but after we've done it 3 times they get the idea, they get how it helps.
Well, I feel better already and I didn't do it properly. I know I didn't because I had my headphones in, but and I've never seen that before.
No, I'd never encountered it until I learned the style of yoga that I've been trained in. It's a for if you can't sleep, if you are it's great with yoga. It kind of gives you what you need in the moment. So if you wake up in the morning and you're feeling kind of groggy and you haven't quite woken up yet, this will energize you.
Yes.
And then if at night you're struggling to sleep, because it's releasing as well, it will really relax. So if you do that and then lie down and focus on your breath a little bit, then it will help with insomnia. One of my students told me a few weeks ago she used it. She woke up at 2 o'clock in the morning and couldn't get back to sleep. So she was doing that at 3 and then she got back to sleep. So it's really good for that as well.
Yeah. So if anybody wants to learn more about you and about the techniques that you teach and the 5-minute breath, what can we say, journey, I suppose, how can they get in touch with you to learn more?
So my website is spacetobreatheacademy.com.
Okay.
And I have a group on Facebook which is called Space to Breathe, and you are welcome to come and join me in there. I've also written a book. Did I tell you? Did you know about my book?
I knew about your book, yes, but share it with us.
About my recovery when yoga helped me in my recovery, and that's called Bent Back into Shape, Beating Addiction Through Yoga. And rather proud of that. I love that I wrote a book.
Yes, it's on my list actually. I can't wait to read it.
Oh well, you have to write yours so I can read yours as well.
I will. Oh well, thank you so much, Esther. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you today. One kind of last tip or bit of advice for somebody who's watching this and maybe they're struggling with their drinking, they're not sure, you know, if they should give up, or they think they might have a problem, or if they're feeling scared, what would you say to that person?
The thing that I wished I'd been able to understand when I was struggling with the idea that I probably had a problem with drinking, was that it doesn't make you a bad person, and that there is not actually anything to be ashamed of. I firmly believe that addiction is nothing more than an attempt to solve a problem, and it is an attempt to soothe us. It's a self-soothing tool that gets a little bit out of hand and then creates its own problems. So if you are struggling, please find some compassion for yourself, because you are not wrong. You are not a person. There is nothing wrong with you. You need to find the support that is going to work for you, and it is out there somewhere for you. You will find it. You will find the right thing for you. And but talk to a professional, and to find a support net, like you providing a support network here. You know, you find the support networks where you can get that compassionate support. And if you need medical help for a detox or anything, please do make sure you get it, because it can be, you know, we know it can be really dangerous. So do make sure you get the professional help, but turn to your support networks as well, and do talk about it, because there is absolutely nothing to be ashamed of. Really.
Oh, thank you, Esther. That's lovely.